welcome to another episode of A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington. A Day in the District is a program specifically designed to help you, the viewer, learn more about your Gary Community School Corporation. Once again, I'm excited to have another amazing guest who happens to be my colleague, but also my friend. Joining us today on A Day in the District is Melisha Jones Henderson of Human Resources, yay, HR. Hey, Melisha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chelsea. Thank you for inviting me.
I want to congratulate you on avoiding me for almost 2 years of this program. You knew your name was going to bubble up to the top.
Yes,
and
I
your
know.
time has come, but it's an exciting time, Melisha, for HR and the Gary schools.
It absolutely is. This is probably our busiest time of the year because we are attempting to staff everyone that we need for the school year to make sure all of our classrooms have teachers, we have paraprofessionals, and everybody's in place to welcome the students as they come in.
I want to talk a little bit about you.
All
Who's
right.
Melisha, and where are you from, and how did you get all the way here to the Gary schools?
Well, I'm from Gary. I wasn't born here, but I've spent my entire life at Gary. I'm a graduate of the Gary Community School Corporation from elementary all the way to high school. I came out of Worth High School.
All right, troopers.
That's right. From there, I started my career in human resources, and before Gary Schools, I worked at Calumet College, and I was their vice president of student life and HR. So I have an educational background, and so it was more higher ed. So when I came to Gary in 2016, it was an adjustment because I had never worked in K through 12. So it was a little different.
Well, you know what? In my mind, I just feel like you've been here even longer than that. What's that, like 6 years?
6 years.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
thinking, oh, she's been here, but that just goes to
No.
show how you carry yourself and how you came in, embraced the culture, embraced any of the challenges, and also embracing the staff. I often hear when people are bouncing into the building, the car, I'm going to HR, I'm going to talk to
Yes.
Melisha because she will figure it out. And I am a witness that you do. You have the answers, even if they're the tough answers, right?
Yes. Well, I
You have the
appreciate that.
answers to let people know how they move forward as employees in the Gary schools. So let's just start with some of the opportunities that we're currently hiring for. And I just want to kick it off with teachers. What's the situation with teachers? Because they're the backbone of the district in my mind. All of us
Absolutely.
have had great teachers, and we continue to hire great teachers.
Absolutely. I'd have to say that we have done well this year. Right now, as of today, as far as teachers, we have very few openings.
Great.
Our openings are in those hard to fill positions though, because we need
Specialties.
Yes,
Okay.
individuals out from the workforce. So we are looking for engineer teacher. We're looking for a teacher in agriculture. We're looking for auto mechanics, psychology. So those positions are really hard to fill, and I'm happy to say we have 2 elementary positions and 1 middle school.
That's
so
it.
everything else
No wonder
is
you
full.
came in here looking so stress-free.
No, not stress-free yet.
Or minimal stress
When
levels.
school starts, I will be happy.
Okay, well, good enough. For those of you who are just watching, I am chatting with Melisha Jones Henderson of Human Resources here at the Gary Community School Corporation. And if you or someone you know is interested in working for the best school district in the world, then this is your show today. So as a teacher, you know, some people think, well, I've been in the workforce, so I can't be a teacher. I'm not qualified. I have to go back to school. Can you dispel that myth and tell us what we need to do if we, in fact, want to go to the classroom?
Absolutely. We have people who may have burnout in their current positions and they're looking for something different and they want to become a teacher. So there is that possibility there for them. So if they want to change careers and be in a classroom to help students progress, what they can do is apply for what's called an emergency permit.
Okay.
So what happens is they would go to IDOE and do an application to get an emergency permit in the field that they're coming out of, or if they don't even want to teach in the field that they're coming out of, they might want to teach math
Okay.
or English. So then they would upload.
Math? Never.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Math was one of my favorite
I
subjects.
know, but just, wow. Okay, I'm back.
So they would upload their transcripts to show what their background is in, if they had heavy math or so, or maybe not. Then they could actually enroll in school to different teaching programs. And as a matter of fact, we have an agreement with IUN currently where many of our employees are taking advantage of the free tuition.
Free?
That's paid for by Gary Schools. They just have to commit to stay with Gary Schools 3 years after their last class, or we pay for their last class.
Okay.
And just this week, we were on with Purdue. And so we're going to start a program with Purdue as well.
Hey,
and it's
Purdue.
going to be a transition to teaching program.
Okay.
So anyone that works for us can get their degree in 18 months through Purdue, and we will pay for their books, we will pay for their tuition, and again, they just have to commit to stay with the district 3 years after we make their final payment for tuition.
Well, here's what I'm thinking, Missy, Melissa, that the things that are happening not only with staff, but in the schools and the improvements that are going on, that 3-year commitment will go by just like that, and that they would probably want to stay.
Absolutely.
So with the teaching opportunities, as we get ready to wrap up this segment, I know what you're waiting for. We're pretty competitive when it comes to salaries, right? What's that range for teachers?
So for teachers, the salary starts at $48,669 to $53,669, unless you're hard to fill. So our hard to fill positions would be math, science, special education, and then the things that I listed like engineering, psychology, those are difficult positions to fill.
Wow.
So
well, why is that? Is it the level of degree? Is it the area that we live in?
Well, first of all, you know, there's a teacher shortage
across
throughout the country.
Okay.
And now pretty much all positions are becoming a little more difficult to fill because people aren't going into the profession. But math, science, and special ed had always been more difficult. Like you said, not math. People are afraid of math, so they don't go into that field. So that's why it's difficult.
Gotcha. You are watching A Day in the District, specifically designed to help you, the viewer, stay connected to your Gary schools. We're talking all things HR, and when we come back, Melissa's going to share some of her secrets on how we get the best candidates here in Gary. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a bookworm. I'm one of those very ambitious, highly motivated, overachievers you've heard about. When I enrolled in Gary Community Schools, I thought I'd be all alone. Sort of like an anomaly or a unicorn. Turns out, that wasn't true at all. There's lots of us here.
Gary Schools. Strong, resilient, built for education.
Welcome back to another episode of A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington, and I'm chatting with Melisha Jones Henderson, Director of HR, all things human resources. Now, when you think about human resources, sometimes we get nervous because we know that's the office that regulates all employee guidelines and rules, but to me, if you're about the right and you're having a great employee experience, then HR can be your friend. So you are my friend, and we were just talking in the previous segment about the opportunities around teaching.
Yes.
And off camera, we talked a little bit about our paraprofessionals and the opportunities that they, in fact, are capitalizing on regarding transitioning into the teaching field.
Correct.
So can you talk a little bit about what is a paraprofessional for those who are interested in that field, and then how they also can transition into becoming teachers?
Okay. So a paraprofessional is what we called when you and I were in school, classroom assistants.
Okay.
So some of our paraprofessionals who have been with us have decided, I want to grow. I don't want to be the classroom assistant anymore. I want to be the teacher.
Oh, good.
So they have the opportunity to join our programs as well and obtain an emergency permit and go into the classroom and teach students, as well as go to the classroom for themselves to get the teaching pedagogy they need to get their teaching degrees, and we pay for them to go as well. So it's not just for teaching staff, it's for anyone who wants to be a teacher. And we've also had people from the outside say, I'd like to apply for a position at your school. How can I become a teacher?
Okay.
So we assist them as well when they come to us and say, I have an interest in being a teacher.
Now, are all districts doing that? I mean, are they as amazing as us, or what?
Well, I would probably venture off to say they're not paying for it, but I
Okay.
could be wrong.
Okay.
But we want to do all the wraparound services that we can to our staff to make sure that they progress, and we want to see them excel and succeed. So we do what we can to help them in that fashion.
You know what, Melissa, another thing that I love to see is the return of our residents, as whether they go off or they get their education here in the community. But we have a lot of our teachers and administrators who have returned home and may have been homegrown in the district like you and
Correct.
myself. How often do you see that?
You know, it's funny because I look at the applications sometimes and I see people that I may have grown up with, or I see people who come in and I may know their older sibling. And when walking around the school, I see some kids in the school and I know their parents. So it's refreshing to see people come back and want to give back to the community where they grew up.
Okay, let's have a little fun. Since we're talking teachers and we'll move to administrators, we have a little time. I'll go first. I'm going to name one of my favorite teachers and give you a chance to think. But I have so many.
Yes.
But I always pay tribute to my first grade teacher.
Okay.
Because you think about when you're entering the district and you're learning, those are those formative years. But she conducted our classroom like a business. Like, I will never forget, we did current events, we did the weather, we had to stand in front of this square and speak and announce what the weather was going to be. I think that's one of the reasons I'm in the field that I'm in now,
Got it.
because we learned early in our Gary schools that communication would be key. So her name was, may she rest in peace, Mrs. Averett at Ernie Pyle Elementary
Okay.
School. And I just want to thank her for planting that seed, and to this day having me to be so proud to be from a district that's so great and to now be working for one.
Got it.
Your turn.
My favorite teacher was my first and second grade teacher.
Okay.
And that was Frances Butcher.
Miss
So
Butcher.
I went to Banneker, and Ms. Butcher had such a good time with our first grade class. She followed us to second grade. And
I'm back.
she said, okay, this is as far as I could go. I don't want to go to third grade. But we learned a lot in her class. I recall that she had a play every year, and we performed in the play, and we still, you know, talk about it and post pictures from the play to our classmates, and it's just like, you just can't forget Ms. Butcher.
And she taught in the district for decades.
I want to say it was 45, 50 years.
Wow, wow. What a noble profession. As we're talking about teaching, and then we'll move into the administrative side, I want to give a special shout out to our Gary Teachers Union.
Absolutely.
I know that they, too, play a critical role in being a voice for our teachers, working with us to ensure that their working conditions, benefits, and things like that we come to the table and talk.
Correct.
And I have had the opportunity to sit in on some things or make announcements around contracts being updated, things being signed, and I feel like that's forward movement on behalf of children. What do you think?
Yes. So we have contract signing every year during convocation. Before I came, I was told they hadn't received a contract in about 8 years. So we make sure that every teacher receives a contract every year so they know what they're being paid, the dates that they're working, how many hours they're working, and when school starts and ends.
Yeah, and it's not always an easy conversation, but the fact that we can communicate, be
Correct.
cordial, give information, share information, I just applaud your team, the administration, the Gary Teachers Union, and the other unions for, keeping those conversations
Yes.
flowing. So I just had to say that. Shout out to Gleneva and her
Yes.
team.
I think we have a good relationship
do.
with Gleneva.
I do.
When we have issues or
Yeah.
have questions,
Just talk 'em
she
through.
picks up the phone and calls me, or I pick up the phone and call her, and we negotiate for
Yeah.
different things for contracts. And so I think it works very well.
Yeah, I told you the Gary Schools is a great place for everybody to work. Now let's talk administrators. Do they get an annual contract? I used to work for the Gary Schools as an administrator about 23 years ago,
I know.
which is crazy. And I know every year we would be like this. Like, so am I going to get my contract?
that seems to be the consensus of everybody. Am I going to get my contract?
Yeah, but it makes you work hard and not just relax like, I got this. No, it's an annual review to be renewed.
Absolutely. So nothing is a surprise. So during the course of the year, whether you're an administrator, a teacher, or the secretary, we are talking to you on a regular basis, letting you know where you stand, if you need help with something, what you need help with, and finding the resources to get that help for you. So it's not ever a I got you or on this day I got you.
Yes.
So we try to nurture our staff. And I have to say, a lot of our staff ends up growing. So they may start, as I said, as a paraprofessional and then become a teacher. So there is all the time room for upward mobility.
Yeah.
So we want to embrace our staff and we want to help them grow. And if they tell us, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up, so to speak, we try to help them get to that location.
That's amazing. And I think the term that we use in most circles of education and other corporate environments is professional development.
Absolutely.
There are tons of opportunities for professional
Yes.
development. And in fact, the district has instituted what we call late start Wednesdays.
Absolutely.
So that our staffs in every building have the time to get together, meet, have some skills shared, have some professionals come in so we can get better and better for the children that we serve. You are watching A Day in the District, a program designed to help you stay connected to the Gary Community School Corporation. When we come back, we'll talk more about professional development and other opportunities in the district. We'll be right back.
It's gross. I don't really want to talk about it. She didn't want to at first, but I mean, it's no big deal. Everybody does it.
I was ready, totally ready, because we had been practicing this dance for weeks.
He was supposed to take this girl to this dance, but
I sprained my ankle at track practice.
I hate sharing anything personal. It's so disgusting. For the dance, I let her wear my shoes and she hated it, but I thought she looked great in them.
he could barely even walk.
I ended up taking some pills for my pain.
Yeah, they were my mom's, but
It didn't go well.
If it's not yours, if it's not yours,
if it's not yours,
Hey you,
don't take it.
don't take it.
Don't take it.
don't take it. You won't believe what happened next.
Hello, my name is Dr. Paige McNulty. I'm the manager for the Gary Community School Corporation, and I am pleased to be joined today with the Jackson 5 family members, Tito and Marlon Jackson.
Hi,
how are you? Thanks for being here today.
Again. Not only are we members of the world-famous Jackson 5, but we are proud products of the Gary Schools.
Growing up in Gary, our school system afforded great opportunities from academics to extracurricular activities.
And today is no different. This is why we encourage you to enroll your child in the Gary Schools today.
For more information, please call 219-881-5466 or visit garyschools.org. And please remember, enroll in Gary Schools today.
Yes,
That's right.
definitely enroll.
Gary Schools.
Strong, resilient.
Built for education.
Welcome to the last segment of A Day in the District. I'm your host, Chelsea Whittington, still talking with my good friend, Melisha Jones Henderson of Human Resources for the Gary Community School Corporation. In our first two segments, we talked a lot about the positions that are available. We talked about teacher shortages, but the opportunities for professional development, great salaries, and who wouldn't want to talk about benefits? health insurance is definitely one of those deal makers or deal breakers, I would think, as far as families who are relocating or coming home to Gary, and they want to be able to provide great insurance for themselves, their spouses, significant others, children. And I hear that Gary Community School Corporation has among some of the best insurance opportunities in the region. Can you please elaborate and help me to know that that is true, what I've been hearing?
Yes, I can. So for the insurance for the district, we have an 85% to 15% split. The employees pay 15% of the premium, we pay 85%.
Okay.
And we are in the Northwest Indiana Trust, and our coverage is through United Healthcare for medical and vision, and we have Guardian for dental. So with the trust, we have an opportunity to use clinics.
Okay.
And so our clinic that we can use is North Shore. So any staff member that has our insurance can go to North Shore and have a doctor's visit. They can get their labs. They can get prescriptions for free.
Wow.
Now, they can still visit their general practitioner or any specialist they have, and there's a copay tied to that. But if they have to go to the clinic, let's say, you know, it's kind of difficult to get in your doctor now, and I don't feel good today, I can go to the clinic as a walk-in today for free and get everything that I need.
That is an awesome benefit. Now,
but let me share this, not to
but
interrupt you.
wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. We are working now to see if we can get a clinic inside of the district, so all of our staff that need to have some care, whether it's immediate or they just want to go for a checkup, they can come to the district and have that checkup because we'll have a clinic on site.
So then, you know, that makes me chuckle because there's always one. I don't feel well. I think I need to go home. We're like, but wait.
Go to the clinic.
There's a clinic right here. We can check you out right here.
Absolutely.
You're fine. Come on back into the classroom. No, but I'm just kidding. But in all honesty, I think that is a major attraction when it comes to people making final decisions on where they want to be employed. So I had alluded earlier that you had some tips or tricks of how we recognize amazing candidates, and this can be for any place we're applying. As a human resources professional, can you share some of the things that you're looking for when you look on the resume, some do's and don'ts of those who are doing interviews? That's always a great tip to have as they're looking to embark on a new career.
So first and foremost, we want to make sure they have a passion to be around children.
Oh, absolutely.
You can have all the credentials in the world, but if you aren't children friendly, it probably won't work out.
And
considering
that's even
we're a
outside
school
the
district.
classroom. You know, custodians, we all interact with young people.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
So we're looking for credentials to make sure they have the credentials needed to teach or to be in whatever department that they're applying for.
Okay.
And then safety. So we want to make sure that they're safe to be around our students.
Okay.
So we do background checks, we do drug tests, we do CPS checks, because we want to make sure everyone that connects with our children or is around our children will be safe and not harm them in any way.
I would also just pile on to that. As I'm in the building and I see people coming in for interviews, they are dressed to the nines.
Absolutely.
Professional. They have copies of their resumes. They have valid, reachable references and things like that, because I know you all follow up on these things.
Yes, absolutely.
And in addition to those not only seeking employment opportunities, but there's a touch point with human resources when we talk about volunteerism, because people say, well, I want to volunteer at Banneker at Marquette. So you can't just stroll up there and walk right on in. There's a pass-through with your team before you can actually be around our children. Can you talk about that as well?
Absolutely. So there's a volunteer application that they fill out. Once we receive that volunteer application, we will reach out to them. And then they have to do a background check and a drug test as well. We appreciate all volunteers, but we want to make sure that they're safe around our children as well. If anyone who has been to any of our buildings will notice, as they come in, the security is asking for an ID, and they taking your picture. So all of that is around keeping our kids safe. And it's not just something we're doing in Gary schools. This is a state mandate. So we're making sure that everyone that comes in our building, whether you're the contractor or you're
They
an
stop
employee.
me sometimes when I haven't been in the building. I'm like, for real?
Yes.
And then I'm like, never mind, here
Ring
we go.
ride, yes.
Yes, yes.
So yes, we want to protect everyone in our buildings.
I love
because
that.
when parents send their kids to school, they
trusting
expect
us.
us to turn it to their parents and protect them.
Well, we are definitely doing that. In fact, my last guest was Director of Security, Cliff Caldwell, and he
okay.
talked about how it was frowned upon many years ago to have metal detectors and
Absolutely.
doors locked, and now, you know, that was the norm here, and they try to say, well, what's wrong with the Gary schools? In fact, it was what's right. We were already on the cusp of what security looked like in protecting our children and our staff to ensure that those who enter our buildings are safe, like you said. Last but not least, as we get ready to wrap up, I can't believe it's almost time to go, Melissa. Shout out your team. I know you don't do all this by yourself.
Absolutely not. I tell them all the time, they don't work for me, I work for them. So in the HR department, we have LaBrelia McGee, who's the HR coordinator. We have our newly hired Chevette Ivy. She was a secretary in the schools, but now she's our benefits specialist. We have Barbara Lowe, who has duals, so she's the HR and payroll specialist, so she does
we
payroll
need to
too.
see B-Lo.
Yes.
Hey.
And then under Nicole, because we work together, HR and payroll work together, Nicole is our CFO. So with Nicole, we have Robin Danzy as well.
All right. Shout out to the team of Human Resources. Again, if you are interested in becoming an employee of the greatest district in the world, simply head over to our website, www.garyschools.org. We also want to extend a special invitation to our upcoming enrollment fair. Will you be there, Melissa?
I will. We will be taking applications at that time as well, because we are still hiring. So I want to say that we're looking for lunch matrons. We're looking for bus attendants. We're looking for paraprofessionals for our special education classes. So we still have positions open. We have filled our teacher positions, but we have a multitude of other positions that we're looking for people for.
Well, I am excited that enrollment fair takes place. I don't know if this will have aired, but I still want to go on record to say we're enrolling July 28th and 29th right here at Westside Leadership Academy, and we're always hiring. You have been watching A Day in the District. I've been your host, Chelsea Whittington, and we will continue to share updates, information, and introduce you to all of the fantastic people who work for you and our children right here in our Gary Community School Corporation. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
WSTG TV.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm a bookworm. I'm one of those very ambitious, highly motivated, overachievers you've heard about. When I enrolled in Gary Community Schools, I thought I'd be all alone. Sort of like an anomaly or a unicorn. Turns out, that wasn't true at all. There's lots of us here.
Gary Schools. Strong, resilient, built for education.